Hello and welcome back to the Student Hub Live. It's our evening session, the session we've all been waiting for. I know Holly's been waiting for it and is super excited and has her Earl Grey tea to the ready. Everyone's been having dinner. Joanne's had hot dogs, Penelope's had steak pie, Catherine's had vegetable bake, and Sylvia's been having her lunch because, of course, she is far away. So it's great to see that you've all been chatting while we've been having our off-air time. I hope you've enjoyed those boot camps. I'd be interested to know what you thought of them. So if you've got any comments, do let us know. We've got a feedback button on the website, so you can fill in a quick form and let us know what you've thought of this whole event and the Student Hub even. And you can also select the Count Me In button and we'll tell you about when we're next back. So Sophie and Kristin, you've also been very busy. What have you been doing and how's it all going?
Well, I've been saving the world.
You were brilliant. Do you know what? If Gwyn hadn't got here, I don't know how you had a get out of jail card. I thought you would go to the accounting department and get him bags of money.
Well, yes, but I did have that get out of jail free card in my back pocket, so I figured I might as well give it to him.
Oh, well, it was very kind and generous of you. Thank you, because it was great to have him here. And I'm very excited about the moot he's going to do later in the session tonight, so that'll be great. Sophie, what did you have for dinner?
I had jacket potato. It was lovely,
good.
Something nice and quick, all ready to go. Please do remember that if you have any questions that we don't get to ask, please email us, studenthub@open.ac.uk, and we are on Twitter. Our Twitter hashtag is StudentHubLive16.
Great. Now, for those of you who have just joined us, we are going to put some widgets up. These are interactive voting tools, and it's our way of knowing who's out there and what you're talking about. So if you're in the Watch and Engage option for the website, you can tell us what you think. So we'd like to know where you are, we'd like to know which level you're studying, we'd like to know what you're studying, how you're feeling right now. So if you can select those, when there's a multi-choice question, you just select the one that applies, and then you'll be able to see what everyone else thinks also. And if it's a Wordle or a word cloud where we give you a choice of 3 words and you can only think of 1 or 2, just put an X in the other one so at least your answer will submit and populate. They do need to be complete for the items to send to us. So please do have a go at doing that, and it'll be great to be able to feed that back into you very, very soon. Sophie said if you've got questions, email us, studenthub@open.ac.uk, and we will get back to you with an answer on those. So anything to do with business and law, or studying for that matter, that we haven't got around to answering today, then we can do that for you later. Our hashtag on Twitter is StudentHubLive16, so send us any questions and comments on that also if you're in the watch-only option. Our catch-up is available, so some of those bootcamp sessions that we've just been playing you, they're all available online, and there's some great ones that you can go on to watch, like how to submit your TMA, our advice for planning and writing and formatting your TMA, and on assessment and feedback a little bit more generally. Sophie, what was your best memory of the bootcamp sessions? Because you were only here for a couple, but then you watched a few online as well.
I was only here for one, and heartbroken because I did catch up on them and they look really, really good. I think Annie did a really good job in HJ. But obviously, I mean, all the food the first time, I must have put on a stone just watching it. But I had hot dogs, popcorn, it was great. And I really got on with HJ. It's a shame he's not here for the last one tonight, but hopefully he'll be back soon. But the boot camps are really fun. I really enjoyed the time management session because I think that can link in also to my work as well as my study. Time management, something you can use in life in general, so I really enjoyed that.
It's a very nice hat, Sophie.
Thank you. I'm preparing for the winter. It is so cold outside and rainy.
Is it?
So, yes. So I'm going to have to make sure I layer up, I think.
Yeah, no, it is. It's really turning the season. Kristin, you've also... Is there something going on I don't know about? Because, of course, I'm locked in here all day and night.
Oh, I think something has to do with the moot, doesn't it, later on?
The moot?
Yes.
What are we mooting about? Hats?
I'm not sure.
Have
these...
to see, Karen.
These, we've been getting questions about what a moot is. We're not so sure, but we're very excited about it. Maybe it's got something to do with hats. Maybe not. We'll see. But I'm looking forward to that a bit later in the session. Well, first up tonight, I'm going to be talking law with Claire Sumner, who's going to be giving us her advice. She is on the W101 module, so she's going to be talking to us about studying law and tips for law students. And maybe she can fill us in on what a moot is as well. We're then going to be taking a look at some current affairs, and I have Jessica Giles and Peter Bloom from Law and Business, and we're going to be taking a look at what's been happening in the news and what sort of spins law and business can have on those very topical issues. We're then going to have our sports section. Now, sports, why is that involved? Well, actually, there is an MBA business and sport, well, football, in fact. So we're going to be talking about the very topical issue of cheating in football. And then finally, we have this moot. So let me welcome Claire Sumner to the studio. Claire, do you know what a moot is?
Yes, I do.
What is it?
It's a pretend trial.
Ah.
So it's pretending to be in front of a judge, submitting an application or defending an application and trying to win, if you like, the process. So it's a mock trial.
And has it got anything to do with hats?
I'm not sure what the hats are about. I'll find out later.
You'll have to watch.
Okay.
Now, the Open University Law Society, they do this mooting and paintballing, I'm told. So these are their two favourite activities. Is mooting something that is something that lawyers do often, or is it more something that law societies do?
It's an interesting question. It really depends what you do with your law degree and where you go with it in the future. If you become a solicitor, you will inevitably be involved in some advocacy, particularly if you end up in a litigation department. If you become a barrister, then what you do every day will be all about advocacy. So it very much depends which avenue you take with your law degree. But in terms of the skill that you develop during mooting, it's something that gives you confidence in public speaking and can be used in all areas of professional life, I would say.
One of the things that Neil Graffin told us earlier was that, you know, even if you do a law degree and don't end up practicing some aspect of law, it's very, very useful because of the skills that you can learn. So W101 is the first level law module that people would engage with if they were doing one of these qualifications. And of course, within that, there is content and skill. So apart from mooting and advocacy, what are some of the key skills that you think are really important for students at that very early stage to get their heads around?
I think what students are often quite worried about when they first start on a law degree, and with 101 being the first module in particular, we see this. They're concerned about how to write a law essay. They're concerned about how to solve a legal problem. So these are the two key skills that we develop throughout the first module. And there are plenty of resources out there to help them engage with those skills and improve across the module.
Can you give us a bit of a snapshot then about how the module is structured? Because you use case studies and a whole range of multimedia material, books, the virtual learning environment. How does the module look for students?
Okay, so it's very much a taster, if you like, of all the different sorts of areas of law that they'll go on to study throughout their degree. So they'll have a little look at various aspects of law just to whet their appetites and get them engaged and get them enjoying the law and get them thinking about it critically.
Excellent. Sophie and Kristin, how many law students have we got out there, and do they have any specific questions that we need to cover in this section?
I don't think we really have many, actually. We've got a football chat going on now, so I think there's a lot of expectation for that one. And looking at the widgets, 81% of people are chatting online are doing finance, business and law. So it looks like quite a lot. And throughout the day, we've had a lot of people on with doing law especially. But yeah, generally just a chat about football. I mean, was it Abby? Abby went to see the football and she went to sit in a box for her first match. So she was very lucky. She's trying to learn football for her boyfriend, bless her. So, yes.
There are a couple of people that are studying law, and a couple of them are studying two modules at the same time. So maybe that might be something Claire could talk about, is, you know, what it's like to try to juggle both modules at once.
I've heard this, and this was something Neil was talking about earlier today. Can you tell us what your experience is of this?
Yeah, it's becoming a very popular mode of study to take 101 and 102 together, to take 202 and 203 together, which are our second year modules. And effectively what that means and what we advise students is that makes them the equivalent of a full-time student. And so that's something they really need to think about when they're looking at time management, particularly as a lot of our students are working at the same time as studying. So it's a question of being extremely organised and thinking about the actual workload for two modules running concurrently. And it's double the work of doing one on its own, obviously.
I bet it is. We've got nearly 2/3 of our students here who are doing a level 1. Well, just over actually, 67% who are doing level 1 modules. So it might be that whilst we've got most people here who are doing a business or law module, they are at level 1. Now, only 53% of you have been to a Student Hub Live event before, so welcome to the people who haven't been to a Student Hub Live event. As you will sense from the conversation, anything goes in the chat. You can pretty much ask anything, talk about anything, even if we're not talking about it. So Sophie and Kristin will chat with you along the way. You can talk to other people. You can let us know your questions and thoughts. So please, welcome to the community. Please get involved and talk to each other. And those of you who have been here before, say hello to the new ones who haven't. Okay, so this idea of concurrent modules then that students may be dealing with, in particular with law, has issues with time management. Now, we've shown a video in the break about time management, and, you know, it all is very theoretical. We often get the concept of it. But law has a lot of reading to do, Neil was telling us. And also there's a lot of case studies, a lot of skills, a lot of jargon to get your head around. What would your advice be in terms of trying to manage time, in particular when you've got this range of multimedia, books, papers, etc., to engage with?
Yeah, I'd think carefully about the resources that are available to you and which particular resources you need to focus on, because there are so many there. So, for example, if we're talking about jargon and terminology, there's a really good thing that's available for students online, which is a law dictionary, and they can click straight on that and find immediately a reference to the terminology that they don't understand. So it's really, I think, playing around with Student Home initially in those first few weeks of study and finding the right resources, and that will help you save time.
Okay, so there's an awful lot, and we've seen at the Student Hub that there's so many things that people can engage with, and you do need to focus, I guess, in terms of what's important. So dictionary would be one of the top tips that you would want to talk about. You've also said, you know, things like referencing can be quite an important thing to get one's head around, and we've heard from the library during various Student Hub live sessions about how they can support students with referencing. Referencing's common, but how does it, you know, is it specific to law?
Yeah, it is, and it's something that students worry about a lot, and they worry about falling foul of plagiarism rules as well. So we have two specific library sessions geared especially for 101 students to show them how to use the law library. That's a very generic session, but also particularly there's a rights and cites session which is coming up very shortly, and tutors will be letting their students know when that's coming up.
Oh, okay, because you do have slightly different conventions, you know, in terms of most of the university use Harvard, but you have slightly different conventions, I understand.
Yeah, that's right, and in particular students are always very worried about how to cite a case study, for example, how to cite a case law rather, and there are particular ways of doing that, and we can show them and give them examples.
Okay, now do essays differ in law compared to other subject areas?
I suppose the big difference would be that students are often with an essay given a quote from a law case, a quote from a judge or an academic, and asked to think about that. So that in itself might lead them to be directed to a case initially. So perhaps there would be a difference there, yes.
Okay. Sophie and Kristin, are any people talking about some of the opportunities that there are in terms of law? We've been talking today about some of the ways in which people are trying to express their careers in quite different and unique avenues for them. Is there anything that's coming up through the chat in terms of what people are hoping they can do with their qualifications?
Not at the moment, actually, but that did come up earlier. There was a lot of people having career changes and people who'd maybe been out of employment for a little bit. We do have some questions on W101.
I know there are lots of W101 students here today.
Yes, we have a couple, actually. So Penelope has said that referencing in W101 is a bit of an issue for her. Do you have any referencing tips or anything specifically for W101?
These aren't specific for 101 if you like, but we have got, as I said, the rights and cites session at the library. We've also got a law school undergraduate assessment guide which has a link to the law school referencing and citation guide. So I would just suggest that for a 101 student in particular that they should be looking at those resources from the outset to reassure them what it is we're looking for, and to try not to worry about it, because their tutors will know that they're new to this. They'll know that they're new to referencing in law, and they'll give them the appropriate feedback in that first TMA and help them through.
Thank you.
Now, we've heard from previous colleagues about some of the initiatives in law to give students opportunities to practice law, so the Pro Bono Law Clinic, for example. And I wondered if you could tell us about some of the wider legal opportunities that students could engage with, perhaps especially when they're starting their journey in law.
Yes, so the Law Society is a great place to start. Membership of the Law Society will entitle students to sign up for a variety of educational and social events. So I've just heard some colleagues talking about the fact there was a laser party, there's a Christmas party. But in particular, in terms of skills that they can develop, the Law Society run, as you were mentioning earlier, the mooting, but there are also other opportunities. So, for example, to engage with the wider community and students from other law modules, students will find out that we have an annual law lecture, for example. This year, our lecture was in London, and there's always a very interesting guest speaker who this year was Shami Chakrabarti, the human rights campaigner and former director of Liberty. So all sorts of opportunities. So I'd say Law Soc is a really good place. Law Society is a really good place to start. And they have their own Twitter feed, so they can find out what's going on there.
Great, and we're going to hear from the Law Society a little bit later.
Yeah.
We're going into our next session, which is all about current affairs. And one of the things that we're very, very mindful of is that there's a lot of change happening in law that will impact on the way that we both study and teach. So what is your top tip in terms of keeping up to date with current affairs for students? Why is that important?
I think it's really important, not because they need to worry about how the law might change during their module, because they'll be assessed on their module materials, but I think it's really important for engagement. Students have signed up for a law module and a law degree because they have a fascination with the law, and I think it's really important not to lose that, and engagement with what's happening on a daily or a weekly basis in the news and in legal stories in particular will help them maintain, I think, that interest.
Thank you very much. Well, Claire, that has been a really short but very, very useful session, and the students who are studying W101 are really pleased to see you here, and it's great to put a face to some of the authors behind some of the chapters within this module, so thank you for coming along.
Thank you.
Sophie and Kristin, are you still talking about football, and shall we get our next guests in?
We have, I think we've stepped it up a bit now. There are a lot of people coming through with what they'd like to do with their qualification. So we've got quite a few people looking to become a barrister. You've got Laura and Holly. And then you've got people like Joanne who aren't necessarily set on a career, just enjoying studying. We've got Stephanie who wants to be a solicitor. Have you picked up any more, Kristin? Or?
Well, I mean, what's interesting to me are all the different types of law that people want to study. So common law, civil law, family law. So they're covering a wide range of subjects, which, you know, for me, I'm in business, so it's pretty interesting to see all the different things that you can study.
I know, I must admit, I'm getting quite tempted by law the more and more I hear about it. We asked you what the most satisfying thing was about studying law, and I'd just like to end the session by having a look at some of the answers that you gave us to that wordle. So people were saying it was very interesting, changing lives, expanding, doing debates, solving problems, enjoying the subject, preserving rights, enriching. A lot of very, very positive words associated with studying law. You guys must love it. So I'm glad you've joined us tonight. We're going to have a short break now, and we're going to show you a video, which is one of our alumni videos, which is about Heather Henry and her story. So we'll be back after that video with our discussion about news and current affairs before the football. Stay with us. We'll see you soon.